The direct taxes code. I have asked you this question in earlier interviews. I am asking you again because I was reading your comments about the need for reforms. The DTC was promised to be a reform, leave out the rate part and the slab part, but at least it would make the tax code more reader friendly in some ways. I don't know if all the changes of the finance bill were to be stacked up, how big a room or rooms it would fill, but not much is heard about the tax code. Why is it so, sir?
Okay, let me be very candid in answering that question, and I'll answer that in a longish manner. I completely agree with you. What I have understood about the income tax code is the first code came in 1860. I think it was rewritten in 1913, perhaps, if I'm right. Then in 1961. So there's been a gap of 50 to 60 years. Within that 50 to 60 years, when we write the code, we write a very nice code without any complications. But complications arise with each budget because there are various interests and various needs also that we need to take into account.
And a legislative requirement of the finance bill level.
Yeah. So 1961, I agree with you that the time has come for writing the code, because then we can remove this 20 provisions to a section which nobody can understand. So now I think as a process, the legislative process itself has become a little more contentious and difficult. Whenever you make a change, some people will be benefited, some will not be benefited, or some will be affected adversely. Because if I have a benefit that I have got or a provision in my favor in the act and it goes away, it will affect me. So I think bringing consensus, consulting people does take a time. I'm sure it will happen, and we hope that it happens sooner than later. But I agree with you that the time for that perhaps has come.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. Let me also talk about one of the sort of reforms that was announced, but we haven't heard much about it. This is the alternative scheme for personal individual taxpayers. Depending on which side of the debate you stand, somebody would say it's bombed. Somebody would say, well, you know, there are still so many exemptions, people didn't find it comfortable. I ask you to set the record straight on this subject. What happened to that scheme? Because I don't know anyone in my circle who has opted for that.
There are some people who are opting for it. The numbers I don't have exactly now, but the numbers are very small. Let me be very candid with you. And when you analyze it, you find that a large number of people in India or who file returns show income of less than 7.5 lakhs. Maybe this number would be 75 to 80% of the people who file returns. Now, if I file a return like that, then under the new scheme, my tax kicks in at 2.5 lakhs, while under the old scheme, I don't have to pay any tax on it. So there is no reason that I should move to the new. So what you have said obliquely, I'll say it absolutely clearly, is that there's a need to relook at this whole scheme and come out with a scheme which has got less number of exemptions and maybe larger slabs, and the rate which doesn't shoot up from say 5 to 20 but moves gradually. And I think if we do that, there'll be a large number of people who will opt for it, and maybe at some stage the government can also think of, rather than having two options, have only one option.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.